Yes, Robo, we're up to module 3. Gee, doesn't time go quickly? Anyway, now we're going to talk about companies proper. And what's that? There's too much material for this week. I know there's a lot of material. In fact, it covers 3 whole chapters. But I tell you what I've done to make it easier. I've actually taken a set of overheads made up from overheads of those 3 chapters, and I'll put them up with the other overheads so it'll make it easier for people to follow when I give the lecture, because I wouldn't be able to cover all those overheads in an hour or even 2 hours. There's a lot of detail there, but yes, there's some key points. That's right, we've got to make sure that people understand the key points. And the first one is the idea of a corporation. Now, a corporation is a non-natural legal person, because in our legal system we recognise 2 types of persons. Right? Yes, we have a lot of 2 types of things. We have 2 types of ownership. Last week, wasn't it? The legal ownership and the beneficial or equitable ownership with trusts. Now we move on to the next idea about legal persons, and we had natural legal persons, and that's people like me, and non-natural legal persons. And a non-natural legal person is called a corporation. And in fact, one of the things about when people had slaves weren't regarded as legal persons at all. And that was one of the issues which developed in the jurisprudence relating to slavery. Now, well, we hope we don't have slavery in the world these days, Robo, that's right. You're all dressed up because you're excited. Do you want me to tell everybody about how you've been invited to appear on a documentary on UK television? Yes, well, don't let it go to your head, Robo. Fame is very fleeting, very fleeting. Anyway, back to this corporations, and what we look at in Australian corporations law is we look briefly at the history of the corporations law in Australia, and it's a long and complicated history, and it all goes back to the fact that when the Constitution was drawn up, the powers which the Commonwealth had in relation to corporations were somewhat ambiguous, and they've been subject to legal interpretation ever since. Anyway, relatively recently, all the states and territories have handed over their corporations power to the Commonwealth, and so the legislation at the moment is the Corporations Act, and it's a Commonwealth Act. What else do we need to know about corporations? Well, corporations which are can be formed in a number of different ways, under specific statutes or under the Corporations Act or by Royal Charter. There's different ways a corporation can be formed, but the ones we're going to be looking at are the corporations which are formed under the Corporations Act, and they're called companies. We look at the different types of companies, the rights of the company, rights which companies have, because a company is a non-natural legal person. Now, I wonder if anyone's ever seen a company. We'll leave that one with them to think about, hey? So, you might have seen property of a company. You might have seen employees of a company, directors of a company. Have you ever seen the company itself? We talk about how we form a company, different types of companies, how companies are different from other business arrangements. Yes, that's very important too. So basically, we're just setting the groundwork this week. And we also talk about what? Corporate veil. Yes, well, sometimes courts will actually look behind a company and make the people who are involved in the company responsible. That's called lifting the or piercing the corporate veil. That's important too, yes. Now, you're not wearing a veil. No. I think that's about it. No. We forgot one very important thing about the corporate policeman, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, that's the body which regulates the operation of companies and monitors the performance of companies. Yes, they have indeed got a very big website, that's right, yeah. Lots and lots of information there. It's really worthwhile going to have a look at that website. And yes, and it's called ASIC. Yes, ASIC's often in the news because when companies get into trouble or run into financial difficulties, ASIC often has to come in to see whether there's been any impropriety on part of the directors of the company. Yes. Yes, I know there's such a lot, but it's only new words at the moment, because we'll come back to a lot of these ideas as time goes by. But if you can get that idea about a corporation is a non-natural legal person. I'm not going to even try to answer the question about what you are, Robo-Lawyer, whether you're a natural or non-natural legal person. Now, we'll leave that, yes. Yes, I think people do know about you, yes. Yes, people see you on YouTube as well. Yeah. Well, just remember, Robo, fame is very fleeting. You say, goodbye, Robo-Lawyer. Goodbye, everyone.